Hello and welcome to another Live with Lisa show. Started in 2000, so about 16 years ago. I decided to run for state legislature in Oregon. And while I was doing that, I discovered that there was significant voter fraud, which never occurred to me. I thought you go in there and you vote, and your vote gets counted just like against everybody else who's registered legitimately and votes. What I found out was our votes are being canceled out by dogs, cats, long dead relatives, underage children, cartoon characters, illegal aliens, people that are voting from their college dorms or fraternities or sororities, people that are voting from old addresses, unbeknownst to these people. So essentially, Acorn and these scary leftist groups that our current community organizer uh, would they'd go through the phone book and they'd find people and they'd register them to vote. And a lot of times I think they also registered young people, people that were old enough, but young people are notoriously inconsiderate about the possibility that they should actually vote or take spent. Ever since then, I've been investigating it. So, what, 16 years now? Investigating the election fraud. And it's pretty scary. And it's scary on so many different levels that I just really wanted to talk a little bit more about it. Back to Hillary. I mean, if you don't know and you're not sure which person to vote for, you don't like Trump's bombastic firebrand style, then I encourage you to go and watch the movie, Dinesh D'Souza's movie, Hillary's America. It is very eye-opening. The woman is full on evil. I mean, seriously evil. There's a guy who used to work with Larry Nichols, I think his name is. Anyway, Bill Clinton himself told him that the reason she left to go to L.A. like once a month when she was in the governor's mansion is because she was involved in this witches church, code for Satanist. Scary stuff. So we do not. Our fight is not amongst flesh and blood. It's amongst spirituality, negative forces, evil, that sort of. And you only get into heaven if you have Jesus living on the inside. So you have to invite Jesus into your life. And people that have over and over again, just go on YouTube and check out the different testimonies of people that have near-death experiences and gone to heaven. And they go to hell too. A lot of that because God doesn't want you to go to hell. He wants you to go to heaven, but you can't go to heaven. And then you find out when it's too late. You need to make your choice. God gave you free will, so you have choice. So choose the right choice because eternity is a really long time, and we all know how fast this life is just zipping by. It's like the Bible says it's like a wisp of air. It's done, gone. Why in the world would anybody spend a whole lot of time raising all this money and getting all this wealth down here when you've got eternity to spend in one place or the other? I mean, it's just ridiculous to me. But anyway, I digress. Back to Hillary. The woman worked on the investigation for Nixon during Watergate, and had Nixon not helped her out by resigning, she would have been disbarred as a crooked lawyer that she was and is. And then, of course, when she set up this cozy little business arrangement with B.J. Clinton, her husband, so-called husband, I'm sure he just thought, well, this is great. I'll have license to go and be a sexual predator to whoever I want to because I don't have to worry about a wife that's going to get upset and make a fuss about it. And so then she starts covering up for all these bimbos. I mean, just any woman that was attacked, assaulted by, some were raped by Bill Clinton. She just besmirches their reputation, just ruins them, threatens them. Just, I mean, people that have worked closely to her, she is just a female dog on wheels, and rhymes with witch. Anyway, she just goes nuts on people, dresses them down, four-letter words, cussing like a blue streak like you wouldn't believe. Just a horrible, horrible individual. Totally, completely, 100% power hungry. Just power hungry. And if you've set your sights on going to hell, you might as well make the best of it here. I suppose that's her. Seems to be her modus operandi. I pray for her. You never want to hate anybody. Never. There's no upside for hating people. None whatsoever. Anybody bothers you, anybody upsets you, just look at them as spiritually damaged. She is seriously spiritually damaged. But the reason you have to be very, very cautious about people like her, and you need to be aware of them. I mean, Jesus called people bad names too. Donald Trump calls her liar. Well, she is. And he called him, he called people the synagogue of Satan, I believe there was one, and part of the Bible. And he called them vipers when he went into the temple and saw them making money changers right there in the temple, which is supposed to be there to worship his Father and worship God. I mean, when I was a kid, I remember thinking that the Ten Commandments were, I understood all the Ten Commandments. I didn't understand this coveting thing. I'm like, what's coveting? Why would that be such a big deal? Well, Satan's gotten into some of these religions. They've taken out, I believe it's the graven images one. They'll have no graven images before thee, because they've got graven images plenty in their religion, their religious denomination. And so they divided up the coveting into two of them: coveting husband or wife, or coveting property, so that it'll still end up being 10 commandments. So check it out. Read the actual Bible, and then look at some of these. They're the more established religions, and so they're trying to. Satan is got one chance. He's trying to take as many people down with him to hell as possible, and he's using that coveting. People, it just seems like, are so arrogant and so worried about what other people think of them, and about what they can get and what they can own and how powerful they are. I mean, we're here for a nanosecond. Really? Last time I checked, you can't take it with you. Please. It just makes no sense when you think about it from that perspective. Anyway, he's really playing up on that. And a lot of these preachers and pastors and priests and religious leaders are just living at on their own ego and their own pride and lust and coveting. I want to have what that person has. I want to have what that person has. Instead of just being really happy and grateful to God for giving him whatever it is you got. And looking, God's so amazing. Looking at all around you to see where God puts you. Why did God put that person in your life at that time? If you look back at the things that you have experienced in your life that have been hard, I bet you can find a good thing that came out of that hardship that you went through. Something would not have happened had you not hit that bump in the road. I often liken it like a float trip. If you've ever been out a float trip, you get your inner tube, you sit in your inner tube, and you got your refreshments in another inner tube, and you and everybody else is floating down the river. Well, you follow the stream. But if you hit a beaver dam or something, then you're diverting away from your normal, natural trajectory that you were on the stream. So in life, the beaver dam, I think, is some way that God puts an obstacle in your way, loss of a job, an illness, that sort of thing, to force you to change your trajectory and go in a different direction, go more towards Him and recognize what He's trying to do. He really appreciates people appreciating Him and recognizing that, like for instance, this guy Trump, he blessed him with such incredible wealth and success in his work. He went through some hardships, but he helped him come back. And I believe, like Cyrus in the Old Testament, there's Cyrus and Daniel was his advisor to this wonderful prophet and godly man. Cyrus was a pagan king, and he's the one who authorized the rebuilding of the temple. Well, God used Cyrus in order to rebuild the temple and in order to get things done. God can't always use godly people. Like, for instance, I was like, why wouldn't Ben Carson have been there? Ben Carson's full on saint, if you ask me. I mean, the guy comes from inner city Detroit, utter poverty, almost kills a guy, goes into his prayer closet, which was a bathroom apparently in his little apartment, and starts reading Proverbs. And after a few hours of reading Proverbs, he recognizes that God does exist. And he changes. Yes, God did take away his anger. And I'd say he did a very good job of it. You can't seem to get that guy angry. In any case, I thought, well, why isn't it Ben Carson? Then I realized how brilliant God's plans are. If you really step back and look at it like it's a big, giant chessboard, the American people would have had a hard time with somebody as godly and as calm and as brilliant as Ben Carson as president. But he, like Donald Trump, would never be manipulated by the establishment and never be able to be coerced or blackmailed or bribed because they have too much money. They were doing it, both Ben Carson and Donald Trump have this in common. This is why they linked up, I'm sure. They both want to they see where the country's going and the disastrous direction the country's going with this corrupt news media, the corrupt establishment, the corruption in Washington, D.C. I mean, utter corruption. I guarantee you, if they're a politician that's been in there for more than a couple of terms, except for maybe a handful, they are bought and paid for, owned and operated by the establishment and these high-paid lobbyists. The only purpose, up until Donald Trump and Ben Carson got in there, the only purpose for they revealed it. This primary has revealed it. I have managed 10 political campaigns. I only take on candidates that I have a great deal of respect for and I feel have the utmost integrity and cannot be bought or bribed. So, naturally, I was given no money for any of these campaigns. We just would go out there, make our case, and get meager little donations. And I probably, as a campaign consultant, I'm sure I have the lowest cost per vote of anybody out there. So maybe not Donald Trump. Donald Trump's got a pretty low cost per vote. But anyway, there were these other candidates that were getting all this money and all this support, and they were getting the call centers, and they were getting the wet behind the ears, young, fresh-faced campaign workers from back east that were coming out to Oregon, and already I just fresh out of how to run a campaign workshops. And we were getting none of it. We were getting no help from the state party, nothing. Like we were shut out. It was like everybody was invited to be in the country club, but you weren't. And now I know why. Thank you, Donald. Donald Trump really showed it, and Ted Cruz, insider. I don't care if you thought Ted Cruz hung the moon. I'm sorry, total insider. He worked for the Bushes. His wife helped write the North American trade agreement with Goldman Sachs. I mean, his dad's story never matched up. How can he have a business for 8 years in Canada when he started around the time Ted was born? But yet Ted only lived in Canada for 4 years. And how does Ted get to be a senator when he's not a U.S. citizen? He was born in Canada, and he had dual citizenship, and he never came out with his citizen naturalization papers. And at the time he was born, they didn't have dual citizenship in Canada, so he was a Canadian citizen, so he would have had to do the naturalization thing. None of it made sense. I hate to say it, Cruz folks, but I think the plan was him to get the nomination. Then once he got the nomination, we were all rah, 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 let's go Ted Cruz. Then Hillary was just going to simply step in and say, excuse me, Supreme Court, not a natural-born citizen. Not a natural-born citizen. You really need to disqualify the entire Republican ticket because they put forth an ineligible ticket Because she was ready to do this for Obama.